Welcome back to our next. This has been like a whole endeavor um, of interviewing friends and colleagues and just folks in the community, and I've been quite frankly amazed at the number of people who have basically said, "Sure, I'll sit and have a conversation with you." So today we're talking to Darcy Eikenberg, who I will count as a friend and a colleague. And we are getting back into our conversation about, sort of our three questions about, three topics of asking good questions and learning something new and being kind, and all of this in sort of memory of and to maintain the legacy of my friend Matthew. I'm just gonna, Darcy, why don't you tell everyone like a quick snippet about who you are, what you do, and then we'll sort of hop right into it.
Sure. Well, I'm just honored to be here. I am a friend of Michael's and Deborah is wife as well. So I consider that the first reason that I'm here as a friend. I also run a leadership development company called Red Cape Revolution, where I work with leaders of leaders and their leadership teams on helping them collaborate better, connect better, communicate better in order to, have better lives and better companies. So that's primarily what I do. I'm also the author of a book called Red Cape Rescue: Save Your Career Without Leaving Your Job, which is really around how you can take back control at any time in your career, no matter what your career is or what's happening for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And as I was explaining to you, Matthew was an elementary school principal and would send his students, his charges off every day with the same sort of perspective, which is ask good questions, learn something new, and be kind in however you interpret that. So for you, I know you are a fellow coach. Um, Asking good questions. What is a good question you like to ask or have been asked? We can think about it from either direction.
Yeah, you're right. As coaches, we ask a lot of questions, right? That's just sort of who we are and what we do. Hopefully, we ask the questions for good reasons. But I think one of my favorite questions to ask myself, and I probably have asked other people this too, is who do I want to be today?
Mm,
I think for me, I can get really caught up in the doing. I've got a list of 20 things here on this, on my notepad here. But who do I want to be? That's the one that always makes me stop and take a breath and recalibrate.
yeah. So it's a little bit of is how are you showing up for people, right? And I think that there's an interesting perspective with I think with all of these questions that if I ask you the question a month from now, right, might get right, there might be different answers, right? Because as they say, the only constant is change. So we have to, sort of keep that in mind as well.
And
So
every day I might want to be somebody different, whatever is calling for me today or the thing that didn't go so well yesterday. And again, I think it resonates with messages that I know, you and I both teach. It's like we have that choice, we have that control. Like the world is not controlling us. I get to choose. So I get to choose if I want to, be that high energy focused person today, or if I choose where I want to kind of keep to myself a little more and take care of my own heart and soul. But making it an active choice to me helps guide your day or wherever you're going next.
yeah, and I think there's also a perspective. You and I are both small business owners, entrepreneurs, right? And sometimes it's a little bit like the E-myth, right? Are you the manager today? Are you the leader today? Are you the technician today? Right? Who is it that you need to, not only how you want to show up, but who do you need to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are some days we are just getting into our on right head down, have to buckle down and get some work done that is like not for clients, but it's like you have to run your business, right? It's so not always fun, but that's the sort of the nature of the beast, being a small business owner.
Sure.
So, uh, moving to the second, what is something new that you have learned or something that you would still like to learn?
There's so many things. I am always curious about how people think and what people do. But I think on a specific level, I think one of the things that I'm always interested in learning is how people are working better together. And so that might be just uh I had a flat tire the other day and just observing, what's that interaction between the person at the counter where I go check in to the mechanic in the back to the person that comes out and says, "Oh, you had 3 nails." So how are we working together today? How are the people I'm with working together? Because I think you can learn that every day, and cumulatively, that teaches you how I might change, how I might try something differently, especially in those times when it feels like I'm not getting the support that I need, or, I'm feeling like I'm not being part of a team well. But I think the learning how are people working together and observing that and sort of being curious about it is always useful.
Yeah. And I think that, as an engineer, right? It's like we are, us engineers are sort of predisposed to, sort of things being a little bit orderly and prescribed. So when I went and did my MBA, people were like, that just, they couldn't understand it. But I think that if I had to boil down that 2 years into one course that was the most important, which I think gets to the perspective that you're offering, is organizational behavior, right? How do people work together? What motivates them, right? How do we start to get all the oars going in the same direction? And I think that that is uh, we don't teach it enough, right? We
Well,
don't.
and I think every situation can be different, and it's just fascinating. And again, I use my real life examples in this because I worry sometimes that we get caught up in terms like organizational behavior, organizational structure. It's just like people connecting with people, and everybody has their own life story in them and their own motivations, and there are patterns and habits and things that we can look for and things that we can learn of how the human brain works and how people are motivated. But I think in a lot of our businesses today, especially like small businesses, it's guerrilla warfare, right? It's like understanding, each person and the intricate math of how they can work together and what everybody wants. And, I just think that that if we are thinking more and putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and recognizing, hey, what is it that they really want? And sometimes it's a question we have to ask. It's really interesting to see, even on a very small level, how all the different pieces of being human interact.
Yeah. And I think the last part of it before we move on to the last our last third is the idea of this is the ultimate adaptive challenge, right? What worked for one person won't work for somebody else. What worked in the past won't necessarily work now or in the future. What worked for this person the last time won't necessarily work for the person this time. It's like we're constantly in a state of experimentation, right? Kind of going back to the having to ask the questions, right? If we ask the question, maybe we can be a little bit more effective and efficient. But it's always it's like you're standing on one foot trying to figure out like what the what am I going to do here? So
The first time I ever became a manager, one of the leaders in my organization said something I'll never forget. And he said, "Darcy, people are messy." And then the next breath he said, "And that's what makes it wonderful, is that we're all different, we're all creative, we all bring different things to the table." But just to expect that, to your point about the ultimate adaptive challenge, is that yes, we're not all the same. People aren't always like me or like you or whomever. And, and it's not that, oh, the work would be great if it wasn't for the people. It's like the people are the reason we're working and we're doing the things that we're doing. So I,
yeah.
I love the ultimate adaptive challenge. That's a great frame on it.
Yeah, and I always, I do, when I talk to groups and clients, about this topic in particular, because right, I work with generally highly technical folks.
Right.
I always joke with them, like it's the first slide. It goes, the work would be easy if it weren't for having to deal with people, right? The work is easy, except you got people. And if you're and if you're inserting people into the equation, it just, right, it gets messy.
And people
Uh,
is the work. People
right.
is the work, yeah. Apologies to the grammarians, but people is the work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people like the messy, and some people are like, I just want clean and sterile. And
Yes.
that's what makes the world go round. So lastly, being kind. This is sort of the action portion of this. How are you being kind? And I have encouraged people to think as broadly as they want or as narrowly as they want, to themselves, to their friends, colleagues, community, however you interpret being kind.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope that, I am, some of the days when I'm asking myself, who do I want to be today? That kind is an answer that comes up. But I think that, there's a phrase that I use a lot when I'm holding back or when I'm chickening out of something that I know I should be doing. And the phrase is somebody out there needs me. And I think it's being kind to yourself to recognize that you have value, you have worth, you have meaning. And if you're holding it back for yourself, we're not helping the world. We're not, finding that somebody out there who needs the thing that you need to do, needs to hear the question you need to ask or the encouragement that you can offer. And so for me, I'm being kind to myself when I remind myself that, yes, there's somebody who needs the stuff that you have. You're not just doing it on your own. You're not just being selfish or egotistical or whatever by doing your work in the world. It's all about somebody else. And then hopefully, that also models the permission for other people to be kind to their self about the things that they can contribute in the world.
Yeah. And I think it's an important, right, critical sort of thing to remember. And I think we often don't do it enough, which is sometimes the work begins at home, right? And we
Work always begins at home.
yeah,
It
yeah,
always starts with us, right?
yeah. It starts with us, and we are, often we are our own worst critics, right? We are harshest to ourselves. We are harsh to ourselves in a way that we wouldn't be harsh to a stranger on the street, but we will beat ourselves up.
Mhm.
And in beating ourselves up, we're diminishing our ability to be helpful to others.
Right. And what I find is fascinating, and I wish I had known this earlier in my life, is that that's the brain's default system, right? The brain is designed, the old prehistoric lizard brain, the amygdala, is designed to keep us safe. So that's the part of us that's sending all the hormones, the thoughts that create the feelings that create the actions that say, don't go there, stay safe. It's just part of our biological makeup, but we can override that and we can use the prefrontal cortex, the executive part of our brain, say, that's okay. I got you. I'm safe. We're good. Nobody's going to eat me, take a bite out of me if I go out into the world and share my gifts or ask somebody for something that I'm looking for or offer to help. And I think once I realized that this was just part of our programming, it's like, oh, now I understand. It's not me. It's not me feeling bad. It's like I just can click that little voice off or turn the volume down at least. And those are skills we all can learn too. And I think that's also part of learning to be kind to ourselves, and the work starting at home is recognizing that that voice lies. That voice is not real, that you're a whole lot better than than you believe you are. And
Yeah.
so,
And it can take some courage, right? It can take some courage to, it's so it's not always easy, right? And I think that you're probably right. We don't ever turn it off. It's just a matter of can we turn it down a little bit?
right. It's the old
So
fashioned radio dial, it's like, can we just, can it just be a little bit of fuzz
yeah,
in the background instead of loud, keeping us up all night?
you and I are old enough to remember TVs before remote controls and radio dials when you had to like,
Oh, not me, Michael. Not me. I know what you're talking about.
we have to embrace our age and our experience, right? It's like
Exactly.
we can't run
Exactly.
away from it, right? The
Happy.
idea
Yes.
that, things that we wouldn't have done when we were younger, we had to learn, right? We had to go through the you have to go through the fires to get to where you are. So thank you. That all great. You know, these are always great conversations. Whether this is being recorded for this purpose or we're just having an offline conversation. So we're just sort of the beginning of 2025. What is something you're excited for this year?
Mm, excited for uh so much. So I think I'm excited to move some creative projects forward that have sort of sat in the back burner, to be doing some things to just have more fun, to be able to work more fun into my calendar, to be more disciplined, if you will, about fun, which always seemed like it's contradictory. But if I don't plan it, it's not going to happen. And I think just, looking forward to the world's in change, but it can't hide and go away and say, oh, well, wait till the world changes. I want to be part of the world changing. I want to be part of, helping people manage through it. And I know, back to this, somebody out there needs me. I know there are opportunities that are always created when the world and people and teams and individuals are going through change. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited for the things that are not known yet. And I know that when we're sitting here in another year, there will be plenty of new stories for us to be able to share.
Yeah. Well, I like the perspective, which is you can either be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution, right? And if you're only part of the problem, there's not a whole lot of satisfaction there, unless you happen to be, as I'm sure we know, folks, you like to be the organizational arsonist, right? You like to set the fires, and then of course those are often the folks who like to run in and put out the fire and go, look at how great that was. And it's like,
Right.
well, if you hadn't set the fire in the first place, right? So you can be part of the problem, you can be part of the solution. And I
Right.
think that,
And as you know, one of the things that I teach is that you only control three things. You control what you say, what you do, and what you think. And that's it. And so I can't control, you know, chaos or whatever, or, all the things that are happening in the world, but I can make a choice about how I'm going to react to it, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, even what I'm going to think. That rather than, staying in this grumbly, whatever, oh, life's hard, it's like I can choose a different thought. To your point, what am I excited for? What's
yep,
in my control to do? And I just find that when you put yourself back in control, it just frees you up to be more kind, to ask better questions, to just be able to be more present for your community and your family and your friends.
yeah, be happier, be more satisfied, be more engaged, right? However you want to start to think about it. So, um, Darcy, for on a Friday morning, thank you. I totally appreciate this. And if folks are looking to get your book on Amazon,
Mhm.
is that the best place?
They can go on Amazon or any online bookseller, or go over to redcaperescue.com, and they're all listed there, or at my website at redcaperevolution.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and there's some fun coming down the pike for a weekend, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate it.